so I am going to follow the figure 40.1 in the book, okay? So you don't have to worry about the veins, the inferior vena cava, okay? The adrenal glands, you don't have to worry about those either, okay? So you've got your renal arteries, okay? I'm not going to test these because we already had it. This area here, this opening, this area is going to be the renal hilum, the renal veins, okay? The abdominal aorta, okay? The whole kidney, these are the ureters, okay? We don't have a rectum on the model, we don't have a uterus. This is your urinary bladder, okay? And I'll show you the urethra. This is your pubic bone, and that right there is your pubic symphysis, okay? So that's from figure, relatively easy, just kidney, ureters, bladder, and the urethra, which is going to be down there. Some of the things that you need to know, okay, so I'm going to flip this in the back, so we're looking at it, all right? These are parts of the male reproductive system, so you don't have to learn those now, okay? So this is a male urinary system model that you're looking at, but we'll learn those later, okay? Some of the things that you have to see, all right? So now I've gone to figure 40.2, all right? Figure 40.2 then will show you some of the structures here. I'm turning it back around so that we can bring this like that. There we go. Can you see that, sweetie? All right, so we do not have a peritoneum on this model, but there would be a membrane, which is going to be then the membrane, that like hammock-like structure that is going to encase the digestive organs, would be on top of this. So that would be the peritoneum. These tubes then coming in are the ureters. This roughness that's in here, so like a balloon that you inflate and deflate and inflate and deflate, it gets like these ridges. So when this bladder is empty, it has these ridges in here, and those ridges are called the rugae. This layer in here that's labeled as 47, and it should have a different color, should be a muscle, and that's the muscle that's responsible for contracting so that you can empty the bladder, and that's called the detrusor muscle. Okay? Outside of the peritoneum, then you should have, actually, you'll have the detrusor muscle, and then you'll have some adventitia, some of that outer connective tissue, which I don't see it here, so I guess I wouldn't test it either. Where your ureters then, okay, empty into is actually the bottom surface. So even though this should be like that, so it's like that toilet bowl that I was telling you, it actually fills the bladder from the bottom. So instead of these tubes coming and emptying up here, they actually come to the back and the inferior part of the bladder. So these little holes right there that are labeled 40 on this model, those are called the ureteric orifices. So those are the openings that the ureters are going to drain. So we're producing all this urine here through all that filtration, secretion, and absorption that we talked about. Now it's constantly producing. It's when that fluid builds up pressure, there's a little flap here, and now that pressure has to be greater and open the flap, and now that's going to push the fluid, the urine, into the bladder. Okay, so these two holes here are the ureteric orifices, okay? Between the ureteric orifices and here, what you see here, this is the urethra, okay? This opening that's coming down here. That urethra then has this opening, and that's gonna be then the urethral, oh, it's not labeled? Orifice? So you have the two ureteric orifices and the one urethral orifice make this triangle. The triangle is called the trigone of the bladder. And the ridges in the trigone of the bladder now don't form the rugae as much, but they form those lines like that. And that's how, even though it's painted a different color, in the bladder itself, you can tell the area of the trigone by the ridges that are now more parallel, kind of like as if they're draining towards the urethra, okay? So this triangle then is going to be your trigone, okay? This area here, if I put like a bracket, so the opening is the orifice. That's interesting. It's not labeled. Oh, yes, it is. It's labeled as the sphincter. So the opening, right, that orifice will be open only if the sphincter is relaxed, okay? So here I have the internal urethral sphincter, okay? And in the female, so this is a male, so I don't have the external urethral orifice, because that's at the tip of the penis, okay? So if you look at the figure, and we'll learn that when we learn the reproductive system. But in the female, the internal urethral sphincter and the external urethral sphincter are much closer to each other, okay? So that you'll be able to see the internal sphincter and the external sphincter, okay? So the internal sphincter then is involuntary smooth muscle, did I say that right? And the external is voluntary skeletal muscle, okay? So then you've got that control of the two. I don't see either one of the sphincters well because I should see like some smooth muscle, and those form like rings around then the urethra at the two openings, the internal and the external. I think we've labeled everything on that.